issues if you eat a person after they've died, but it does so tend to upset the other guests at the funeral. Cannibalism, the consumption of other members of the same species, is an unusual but widespread survival strategy in the natural world. It has been observed in hundreds of species and tends to increase individual survival, especially in cases of overpopulation and constrained food availability. And especially because because members of the same species end up competing with one another for the same resources, which is why, if the Vancouver power grid ever cuts out, I would be well advised to immediately kill and eat my roommate before he gets to the last of the ice cream. It's not always a genetic survival benefit, however, because it also increases the risk of the cannibalistic individual devouring a near relative. And it's not particularly useful if you survive to reproduce if you then eat all your children. It also increases risk of injury to the cannibalistic individual, because my roommate is about the same size as me, and he's probably going to put up more of a fight than the average jar of Nutella. Another risk it has is that it increases the risk of disease and parasite transfer, because it increases interactions between different members of the same species' potential hosts. And because parasites who have already adapted to the biology of a certain species may more easily jump to another member of that same species. Now, here's the thing. It can also result in the arrival of entirely new, previously unknown diseases. Have you ever heard of Creutzfeldt-Jakob?
Yeah.
It's this extremely rare degenerative brain disease. And it's basically caused by a buildup of prions in the brain. Those are misfolded proteins. It's basically when your brain is so bad at origami, it kills you. And one of the reasons why it's so rare is because it's not generally considered a communicable disease. It's not usually transmissible. Like, you can't just cough on somebody and give them Creutzfeldt-Jakob. You don't just, because all of your damaged prions are sealed up tight right here in your brain case. You don't just walk down the street, trip, and get another person's brain matter in your bloodstream. In general, it's just random happenstance, a random error in your genetic coding that results in this disease. Although in rare cases, it can be the result of a genetic mutation or brain surgery, when you were accidentally exposed to the donor material taken from a diseased individual who was unaware that they were a carrier. There is, however, one other way to get it, and that is to eat it. Yeah, because human beings aren't the only species that gets this disease. There is actually a bovine variation, you may be familiar, mad cow disease, which was the biggest outbreak of which was caused by feeding cattle meat and bone meal, the ground up remnants of other cattle's, the parts that were not fit for human consumption, in some kind of sick, Soylent Barnyard Green version of Soylent Green. This brings me to Kuru. In Papua New Guinea, there is a tribe of people called the Foray people that practiced funerary cannibalism in the 20th century. The practice of cooking and eating the dead in order to release their spirit back into the world. Which was all fine and dandy, completely consensual, right up until the moment a member of the tribe developed spontaneous Creutzfeldt-Jakob and died. And he, of course, was eaten, including his body and brain. The other members of the tribe, likewise, some of them developed a variant of Creutzfeldt-Jakob, died, and they themselves were eaten, resulting in a disease that existed nowhere else on Earth because it could only be spread in this specific cultural